Okay, what's going on, guys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to go with the 4-2-3-1 custom tactics and instructions. This would be for the more defensive to close out the game and the more balanced to play for the entire game. I know everyone just wants to skip to the tactics, but it's important that I go through them just so you can micromanage and adjust it for your style. Yes, the tactics work very well and probably work for the masses very, very well. But if you can incrementally or just slightly adjust it to your play style, it makes it even better. Now, for a defensive option, you don't want to be using drop back because what you're actually going to do is quite contrary. You're going to invite pressure, especially with the finesse shot trait being very overpowered this year, especially after the patch, should I say. Drop back is not that effective, especially on next gen. If you're playing next gen, drop back, I would say, is almost suicide because your defense line drops back so much that the pass inside the box and the availability, which is made for your opponent, it's not worth it. So you're better off just using balance and always just reducing your width or your depth to kind of emulate drop back but not really use it. But I would always say just keep it balanced. Okay, the width, I would say you go lowest to 35. Being compact, kind of like an Atletico Madrid style, is very, very good. You can always turn on overload the ball side if you want to, but you don't want to be so narrow where someone's just abusing you down the wings every single time. So don't give them that option. Just keep it at 40. The depth you can reduce down to 35. That's completely fine. You can sit a bit back. Remember, you don't want to go so far back because you go so far back, then you're just going to give your opponent a lot of space to kind of basically pass the ball to the strikers and then take first time shots. Equally, if your depth is too high, you want to create a situation where your opponent can just do through balls in behind. So 35 is a good balance. Remember, this is more of a balanced formation as opposed to last year it was pure attacking, pressing, if you're losing, I would say. For the build-up play now, I would say do not go with fast build-up play on a long ball on the balanced formation. I would not recommend it. Long ball, maybe you can get away with depending on your skill level. If you're good enough to be like, okay, you know what? I missed the charts. Can I go recycle the ball with someone else? Okay, fine. Because what happens is a lot of players, they don't realize it. But when you're inside the game, even though you think you know what you're doing, you end up panicking, especially when you're up against a better player. When your team moves faster, you play quicker, and in turn, you lose the ball quicker. So what I would say is slow build-up play is probably the most underrated build-up play style and probably one of the best, if not the best. And the reason why it's so effective is if someone is pressing you and you're winning, with slow build-up play, what happens is that your team, they build up more slowly. So that means when your opponent is trying to press you, they press you aggressively because your players are not flying forward. You've got more passing options initially. If you want, for example, a winger, let's say you got a right wing and you want them to make a run quickly, you can always use an L1 trigger with your right back to your winger, or you can always do a 1-2 pass backwards. So that is how you could basically override slow build-up play. And that is why I use slow build-up play so much. If you really don't like it, you can use balance, but I would recommend slow build-up play. Honestly, it's absolutely fantastic. And once you get used to it, you will see you can have more passing options close by, and you can always speed up the game yourself. Actually tricks your opponent, tricks your opponent's AI as well. Now, chance creation, I would very much leave this unbalanced, okay? Now, forward runs is just too attacking, okay? Especially with a balanced formation. With a 4-2-3-1, to be honest, you might have seen my first 4-2-3-1 videos. It does work very, very well. But if you're coming towards closing out the game, or just kind of you're 1-0 ahead, or you just want to create your chances, but you want to rotate the ball outside your opponent's box, balance is the best to go for. Possession invites too much pressure, I would say, especially against constant pressure. So just use balance. Especially if you get it behind the strikers, which will go over, it does work very, very well. Now, for defensive width, I would say 50 or 55. The reason for this is your opponent's going to be pressing you most of the time. You're going to be as wide as possible to distribute the ball towards your players. Now, you can always use hug the sidelines to make your players even wider. But I would say 55 is a good amount because you're most likely going to go up against a 4-4-2 or some variation of a wide formation that's going to be pressing you from the ground. So do bear that in mind. And the players in the box. Now, if you're talking about completely closing out the lead, this goes down to 1. And the reason why is, and you'll see a lot of top tier players do this, when someone is winning at 70 minutes, they just sit outside your box, right? Imagine this is my 4-4-2, right? And imagine the strikers are there. I'm waiting for my opponent to run outside from the box. I just have to rotate the ball around the box. If I see a clear chance, then I pass the ball to the striker, only if I find a clear chance. Now, remember, this is just for crossing. Don't forget, it's just for crossing situations, okay? So the idea is when a ball gets rotated down to the wing position, you're going to have all these players to pass to. A lot of players, what they do is they get the ball on the wing, they lose the ball, and then they get countered very, very quickly. But having more players outside the box, you've got more options and less chance for you to lose the ball. So this is only crossing situations. That is why 1 is fine. I'll leave it on that, and that way you can rotate the ball. If you want to waste time in a corner, you've got players to pass to as well. Same with corners and free kicks. I would equally leave them on 1. Now, going over to the instructions. Now, as I've always mentioned, you can always put stay central on a false 9 as a striker. And that way he can drop in midfield, and that way you can just pass the ball around the outside. But you still want that attacking presence, okay? So this is not the park the bus. This is the balanced but defensive style. This is one that you can just use for the entire game, almost like a safety net. It's very attacking, but equally it's just as much or even more so defending. You got 2 CDMs, okay? 3 camps, all of them are going to come back. I would say just put your striker on, get it behind. Especially if you're using balanced over here, I would say definitely use get it behind. I always put stay central and come back in defense. I always want my central striker to be in the middle. So don't do any free roam, because you want anyone, especially you don't want your striker going to the winger, then your striker can't defend as well. So he might be a bit too slow. You might have Ibra there or Gold Ibra or whatever. You might even have Harry Kane there. So you don't want anyone swapping. Stay central, come back in defense and get it behind. Perfect. Okay. Now for the 3 camps, I'd recommend come back in defense and send edge of the box for a cross. Now, what you can do, remember I said to you, for example, and this is where those of you that don't skip the tactics, which will play perfectly into your style. Remember the players in the box on 1. If you want certain players, so let's say, for example, you want Mbappe or Lam to get inside the box, you can put the instruction, get inside the box. It doesn't matter what it says over here, because the instructions, it overrides the tactics, okay? So you can always set, let's say, for example, you know yourself, and you trust the ball to go down to the right mid position most of the time, right? Or the right wing position. You can have the opposite player, Mbappe, and get into the box for a cross. And you see how that works very, very well. I will leave them all on the edge of the box. Don't put anyone on free roam. And I'll be honest, consider leave it on balanced. You can leave it on balanced. If you really want to, you can consider using aggressive for the cam, but just bring out back the cam manually. Now for the both CDMs, cut passing lanes, step out while attacking, and cover center. If you're wondering how to play the 4-2-3-1 fluently, I have a series, my Patreon series, patreon.com/NealGuides, links down below in the description. I use the 4-2-3-1, the most balanced 4-2-3-1, with even the most balanced tactics for my Division 10 to Elite Division series. You can see every single game that I play from Division 10 to Elite Division with a cheap team and an expensive team together, and I show you with the exact same tactics how I play with it. I also have the controller on the screen so you can see the full game, and I comment it over it, explaining to you exactly what I'm doing. Link is down below in the description. You can join now, and you get your money back guaranteed. In fact, if you join now, just send me an email when you join, because I know it's 27th of March right now. I'll refund your money so you don't get charged twice. Don't worry, you can read that. All information is linked down below in the description, or you can wait for the 1st of April. And if you don't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money. That is a NealGuides guarantee. One of the most best series. In fact, the series is so popular that other creators and other proper companies are actually copying my series. But anyway, that is a Division 10 to Elite Division series. Link is, of course, in the Patreon series, just base football. Remember that. But go back to the video. So both of them cut past lanes, about second cover center. We know that. Left back and right back, same. Stay back, conservative, and overlap. Now, the reason for this is, okay, now let's say if you're in the position and you do a 1-2 with your ram, you don't want this guy to be going on the inside. So the idea behind overlap is he stays on the outside, okay? That's the idea behind overlap. Conservative interceptions. Now, what this happens is there's a problem in this game when sometimes you will notice this if you play the game a lot, and maybe if you actually start looking at it, you'll be like, oh, what? You know what? He's got a point there. Sometimes your left backs and right backs, if the player's got the ball then is a striker running behind, sometimes your right back and left back will aggressively try to intercept the ball when you don't want them to, and you want them to just switch to them and run back. Now, if you're like a top tier player, you might switch back to your right back in time and bring him back. But a lot of players, they don't. And that's why they get done. So I'd rather leave this on conservative, similar left back and right back. You know what? You stay there. Don't do anything funky. If I need to move you back manually, I will do. And that way you can see a lot of less through balls because your left back, right back, they kind of won't step up. Okay. So keep this on overlap, conservative, and leave this on step up while attacking. There's no reason to put this on attacking as usual. Okay. Now for the back, always put this on stay back. Do not try anything funky like that. Do not play with this because you actually want them to step up, especially when you're outside the box or when your opponent's got the ball inside the box. You don't want them to be just standing there because you're just going to run back further away to goal and create space. Leave it on balance. Do not leave it on aggressive. Okay. Now the step up tactic, right? People think it actually helps you, but it doesn't. Okay. It's only if you're very, very good at aggressive defending. And even then, I still don't use it. A lot of pro players, they still don't use it. It's not going to help you. Yes, you might think you can step up closer and man mark your players, but as soon as an L1 trigger, they do not follow. Okay. If someone has get forward or forward runs or L1 trigger, they're not going to follow. So you just leave this on stay back. Now, as I said to you, this is in my ultra defense slot. The slots don't mean anything. Just ignore these names. But this is the formation I would use for the entire game, or if I'm winning 1-0, or if it's a draw. That is exactly what I would use. That is the tactics and instructions. Now, don't forget, this is the way that I set up my team. Now, what I do in game is I play Hakimi and I play Cancelo, team of the year in CDM, and then I have the rest of the players on the pitch. Anyway, guys, that is the tactics for the 4-2-3-1 balance. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, and of course, I'll catch you next time. Don't forget Patreon series, patreon.com/NealGuides, links down in the description. Don't get better after 1 month. I'll refund your money. That is, of course, the NealGuides guarantee. Probably the only platform that actually offers a money back guarantee, and there's a reason for that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and of course, I'll catch you next time. Peace out.